Welcome to DRM News Global. We've got a great collection of articles and notes here, all thanks to you, our listener, pointing us towards this story. Today, we're diving into all the buzz around singer Dua Lipa and the actor Callum Turner.
And our goal is pretty straightforward. Pull out the really key info, the interesting bits from the sources you sent about their relationship, focusing especially on, well, the big news, the engagement.
Exactly. We'll use these sources like a guide, walk through the timeline, the facts, the details, hopefully give you a really solid understanding without you having to sift through everything yourself. So let's get started.
Okay, so the absolute headline grabber here, the thing everyone's talking about, is that confirmation. They're engaged.
The big one. And crucially, the sources make it clear this isn't just rumor anymore. It came from Dua Lipa herself.
Right, in that British Vogue interview. Published just this week, actually, June 12th, 2025.
So very current. And what does she say about how it feels?
Well, the sources quote her directly. She described it as a really special feeling and also very exciting. You get that sense of genuine emotion there.
Definitely. Okay, quick refreshers for anyone who needs it. We're talking about Dua Lipa, the singer. She's 29.
And Callum Turner, her fiancé now, he's 35, an actor from London.
Got it. So how long has this been brewing? The sources trace it back a bit.
Yeah, they were first linked, romantically speaking, back in January 2024. So what's that, about a year and a half ago?
Right.
That was when they were apparently seen slow dancing at an after party for his show, Masters of the Air, in London.
So by the time this confirmation hit in June 25, they've been together, just over a year and a half.
And the sources also mentioned they went, Instagram official a few months after that, July 2024.
And then the big public step, their red carpet debut as a couple, that was more recent, right? At the Met Gala this year, 2025.
Yeah. Often a sign things are pretty serious when couples do the Met Gala together.
Okay. Now, Dua Lipa's career is obviously huge, globally known. But the sources you sent also give us a bit more on Callum Turner's background.
Yeah, his notable roles mentioned include the Fantastic Beasts movies.
Right.
And, of course, Masters of the Air, which is where that first spotting happened.
And he got some recognition a few years back, too.
That's right, a BAFTA nomination in 2020. That was for a BBC show called The Capture.
Okay. And he's got something major coming up, too, according to the sources.
Yes, a lead role in a new Apple TV sci-fi series.
Neuromancer. Based on the William Gibson novel.
Exactly. That classic 1984 cyberpunk book.
Yeah.
So, it underlines that both of them have these really high-profile, demanding careers going on.
Definitely. Which makes the personal stuff maybe even more interesting. Speaking of attention-grabbing things, let's talk about the ring.
Ah, yes, the ring.
Because that generated a lot of talk even before the official word came out. The sources you provided have some great details.
It really did set off speculation online. The articles point out that rumors about a ring started swirling quite a few months before the Vogue confirmation.
They pinpoint Christmas Eve 2024, right?
It seems she posted some photos on Instagram around then, and eagle-eyed followers spotted what looked like an engagement ring on her left hand.
And she kind of flashed it a few times after that on social media. Kept the rumor mill going.
Exactly. But the actual reveal, the detail from the interview, is that it was custom-made.
Oh, wow.
And not just custom, but designed by Callum himself.
Okay, that adds a whole other layer. That's really personal.
It really is.
Yeah.
And what I found really sweet reading through the sources was how he did it.
Yeah.
She shared that he didn't just, guess her style. He actually talked to her best friends and her sister to get their input on the design.
Oh, that's lovely. That shows real thought, doesn't it? Wanting to get it just right for her.
Totally. And it sounds like he succeeded. Her reaction, quoted in the sources, she says she's obsessed with it.
Obsessed. Okay.
Yeah, and she described it as so me, adding something like, it's nice to know the person you're spending your life with knows you really well.
That says a lot. So what does it actually look like? The experts weighed in based on photos.
They did. The general description is a pretty significant diamond set on a wide band.
Okay.
There's a New York designer, Susie Saltzman, mentioned in the sources. She suggested the main stone looks like a round, brilliant, or maybe an old European cut diamond.
And how it's set.
She noted it seems set quite low, almost flush with the band itself, which is described as a wide gold band.
Right, not perched way up high.
Exactly. Saltzman speculated it could be a semi-bezel or a tension setting, or maybe even fully bezel set. Basically meaning the metal kind of wraps around the diamond, integrating it into the band.
Interesting. And Saltzman also pointed out this is kind of different from recent trends, right?
Yeah. She highlighted that this style, the big diamond set low on a really substantial wide band, sometimes called a cigar band, is a move away from those huge solitaire diamonds, sitting high up on very thin, delicate bands that have been popular.
So maybe a more modern or perhaps understated choice in its own way.
Could be. Another expert mentioned Laura Taylor from Laurel Diamonds had a slightly different take on the size.
Oh,
She estimated it looked closer to 3 or maybe 4 carats. Saltzman had estimated maybe just over 2.5 or 3. So a little variation there.
which naturally affects the estimated cost, I assume.
Absolutely. The sources give ranges based on these estimates. Saltzman's estimate put it somewhere between, say, $65,000 and $125,000,
Okay.
assuming a high-quality natural diamond of that size. Taylor's larger estimate pushed the range higher, maybe $200,000 to $270,000, again, depending on the specifics of the diamond.
Still, quite a range. But it sounds like the real emphasis, from Lipa's comments anyway, is less on the price tag.
Definitely. More on the fact that it was custom, designed by him, with input from people she loves. That seems to be the main thing.
That personal story behind it. Okay, so that's the ring. Let's switch to how they actually connected. Because the sources paint this picture. Lipa herself calls it sliding doors moments.
Yeah, this is where it gets quite romantic, almost cinematic, according to the articles. She apparently pointed out several weird coincidences over the years.
Like what?
Well, like back in 2014, they were apparently in the same place without knowing it. She was working at a restaurant in London, La Bodega Negra, and he was photographed just outside it that same year. Didn't meet, but just near misses.
Oh, okay.
Then years later, just before the 2020 lockdown, they were at the same party. Again, didn't really connect.
Still orbiting each other.
Right. And later, they apparently looked back at photos they both took at that party, about an hour apart, and realized the exact same person was in the background of both their pictures.
That's uncanny.
Isn't it? Plus, she mentioned they just generally have so many friends in common,
Yeah.
which, makes crossing paths more likely eventually.
Sure, increases the odds. But when did they actually meet face to face?
The sources identify a specific first introduction. It happened at the River Cafe in London, quite a famous spot.
Okay.
Dua was there having dinner with her dad, and one of the restaurant's co-founders apparently introduced them.
So a casual introduction, but that wasn't the spark moment.
Seems not. The sources suggest the really pivotal moment, the one that got things going, happened about a year after that first meeting.
Where was that?
She was having dinner with a friend, this time in Los Angeles.
Mm,
And Callum just walked into the same restaurant.
pure chance.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
And her first thought, which she shared in the interview, was basically, oh, it's that really hot guy from the River Cafe.
Ha. Gotta love the honesty.
Totally relatable. But the real kicker, the big coincidence that night in L.A.,
Yeah.
he asked her what book she was reading.
Oh, okay. Don't tell me.
Yep. They discovered they were both, right then, reading the exact same book.
No way. Which one?
Hernan Diaz's novel, Trust.
Wow. Okay, that is a bit spooky. Did she say how that felt?
Oh, yeah. When the interviewer asked if it felt like fate, her response, according to the sources, was just 1,000%.
I mean, you can see why, can't you? Finding that specific shared thing at that precise moment of reconnecting, that's powerful.
It really adds a layer of destiny to the whole story.
Yeah.
Feels less like random chance and more like meant to be, perhaps.
Yeah, you could definitely interpret it that way. Okay, so engagement confirmed, amazing personal ring, a meeting story that feels fated. Are they diving straight into wedding planning now? What do the sources say?
Actually, completely the opposite.
Oh.
The sources are really clear on this. They are not rushing the wedding planning at all.
So no date set or anything like that?
Nope. Lipa specifically said they're just enjoying this period of being engaged.
Taking their time. Are there reasons given?
Yeah, and they seem pretty practical, honestly. It comes back to those demanding careers we talked about.
Right.
She's still got her world tour to finish the articles, say that wraps up in Mexico in December.
And he's busy filming that new show.
Exactly, Neuromancer. So basically, they're both incredibly busy right now. Finding time for wedding planning on top of all that, probably tricky.
It makes sense. It kind of highlights that challenge, doesn't it? Balancing huge career moments with major personal steps.
Their decision to just pause and savor the engagement feels quite intentional, maybe a way to manage everything.
She also shared something interesting about how her own perspective is changing, didn't she?
Yeah, a small but telling detail. She mentioned she'd never really been someone who thought much about weddings, didn't daydream about being a bride.
Okay.
But now she finds herself occasionally thinking, oh, what would I wear?
Ah, so even without the planning, the idea is starting to percolate.
Exactly. It suggests the reality and the meaning of the commitment are sinking in a personal way.
And she also mentioned understanding the weight of it all now.
Yes, that phrase, understanding the weight of an engagement, seeing it as more than just a status update, but a really significant decision about building a future together.
Which kind of brings us full circle to that feeling she described at the start.
Right. The sources keep coming back to her view of the engagement as a decision to, quote, grow old together, to see a life and just, I don't know, be best friends forever.
That best friends forever part really stands out, doesn't it? It feels like that's the foundation they're aiming for. Companionship, deep connection.
It really does. And when you put all these pieces together,
Mm-hmm.
the ring he designed with her friend's help, those uncanny coincidences, the shared book, understanding each other's careers, wanting to be best friends forever. It paints a picture, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels very considered and personal. Not just a celebrity pairing, but something with real layers that the sources let us glimpse.
Exactly. So thinking about this for you, our listener, what really jumps out from their story? Does that whole sliding doors idea resonate? Do you see those kinds of near misses or fated moments in relationships around you?
Or think about the personal touches. How important is something like that custom ring, designed with loved ones' input? Does that kind of gesture significantly deepen the meaning of these big life moments for you?
It definitely elevates it beyond just, a fancy purchase. It becomes symbolic of care and knowing someone deeply.
And what about balancing life and work? Seeing how they're handling the engagement amidst incredibly busy schedules, choosing to just enjoy this period. What does that approach suggest about how people, maybe even you, navigate big commitments alongside demanding careers?
It certainly suggests that for them, right now, the focus is on the commitment itself, the relationship, rather than immediately jumping into the stress of organizing a huge event.
So, recapping the key things we've pulled from the sources. The engagement is official. The ring is incredibly personal and custom. Their meeting story has this almost fated quality with all the coincidences.
And they're deliberately taking time to just be engaged, given their busy lives, before planning the actual wedding.
It's a story with a lot of warmth and some really intriguing details.
Definitely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with, drawing on what we've discussed. Considering how hectic their lives are, what is their conscious decision to enjoy this period and that stated desire to be best friends forever really tell us about how they view partnership and building a lasting connection, something to think about in terms of your own relationships.
Indeed. A huge thank you for sending over the sources that let us explore all of this today for DRM News Global. It was fascinating.